It's your world, it's your land. You must comprehend or you cannot stand. Don't turn a blind eye, you must get involved to evolve. Make change for these people of all.
Good evening. Welcome to Tntn Politics, your political right to know outlet. I'm your host, Edward J. Davis, and again, we're bringing it straight to you. Not always politically correctly, but correctly and necessarily. Giving you what you need to make sure that you can make informed decisions about how you move in this world and having some kind of say or voice in those things that affect you. There has been an interesting turn of events these last few days, and I'm sure that we all, we know what the buzz is, we know what what's trending in politics, and so definitely want to just highlight some of those moments, if you will, and then we're going to take it on a national level first, then we're going to kind of bring it locally, just talk about what Governor Abbott and some other individuals seem to be doing to further suppress the vote. So again, we have to be mindful that if you don't know, you can't do. And if you are uninformed about what you have a right to, it allows you to move a lot better in the world. And we have to understand again that everything is politics. They politicize the heck out of this COVID-19 thing, and again, these latest turn of events have made it a lot more interesting in terms of what is. Again, let's just get into one of these first clips, because I want to first talk about just this presidential debate. It was just painful to watch. I can't honestly even say there was a winner. But it still worked out better for Biden because it was Trump, I believe, who had the most to prove. The position that he needed to kind of add clarity to and substantiate and kind of solidify. He needed, again, to gain more support from those outside of his base. And it was just the most painful thing I've ever watched in my life in a very long time. On a political scale, in any debate, not just presidential, I've just never seen anything like this in my life. And so I do want to play a quick clip that just kind of highlights, just kind of shows some of the highlights. And then we'll come back and we'll just have a discussion just about the way our world is moving. So I want you to check this clip out real quick, and then I'll come back to kind of insert, my take.
Just tell you, Joe, I've done more in 47 months. I've done more than you've done in 47 years, Joe.
No.
Ukraine.
No, sir.
With $1 billion of
You know what? You're way not true.
So you said you went to Delaware State, but you forgot the name of your college. You didn't go to Delaware State.
You're going to have true. Gentlemen, I hate to raise my voice, but I feel it to be, why should I be different than the two of you?
Vote now.
You're going to pack the
Make
court?
sure you, in fact, let people know
He doesn't want
you're
to answer the
senators.
question.
I'm not going to answer the question
Why would
because
you answer that
because
question?
the question is
Justice,
the
radical
question-
left.
Will you
Who
shut
is
up,
on,
man?
listen, who is on your list, Joe?
One of the big debates we had with 23 of my colleagues trying to win the nomination that I won were saying that Biden wanted to allow people to have private insurance still. They can. They do. They will under my proposal.
Not what you said,
But
and it's not what
that
your party has said.
That is simply
Your party
a lie.
doesn't say it. Your
That
party
is
wants to
simple.
go socialist
My
medicine
party is
and
me.
socialist
right
healthcare.
now. I am,
And
the
they're going to
Democratic
dominate
Party.
you, Joe. You know that.
I am the Democratic Party right now. Everything he's saying so far is simply a lie. I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar.
But you
I just
agree-
want to
Wait,
make
wait,
sure.
Joe, you're the liar.
I want to make sure.
Graduated last in your class, not first in your class.
There is no manifesto. Number
Please
one.
let him speak, Mr.
Number
You
two.
just lost the left.
Number two.
You just lost the left. You agreed with Bernie Sanders on a plan.
Folks,
Absolutely
folks,
agreed
do you
to.
have any
Under that
idea
plan,
what
that's
this
socialized,
clown's
they
doing?
call it. Hunter got thrown out of the military. He was thrown out, dishonorably discharged.
That's not true. He
For
wasn't dishonorably.
cocaine use, and he didn't have a job until you became vice president. And once you
None of
became
that
vice
is
president,
true.
he made a fortune in Ukraine, in China, in Moscow,
That is simply
and various
not
other places.
true.
He
My
made
son,
a fortune,
my son,
and he didn't have a job.
my son, like a lot of people you know at home, had a drug problem. He's
It's hard to even respond. You almost don't know where to start. And I'm very rarely at a loss for words, but this president, time and time again, just seems to be so effective at just making my jaws drop. There's so much to take away from this. And so again, it's just hard to know where to start. But in Biden's defense, he said a lot of things that I also think were a little inappropriate, but I think that you have no other recourse when you're dealing with such buffoonery and such incompetence on behalf of the person who represents the most powerful nation in the world. And it's supposed to be a symbol of hope and prosperity and all the political fairness and democracy. And it's a sad day when you have someone that's just so undisciplined that we ended up having to bear and go through just the highlights of what you just saw. It was recorded, if I'm not mistaken, over 90 interruptions between the two. Over 70 of those were done by our president. And that's actually painful for me to say. I usually say you're president. But for better or worse, he represents all of us as long as he holds that seat. And it's up to those who are informed to get out and make an informed vote or decision about who you want to represent you in the next 4 years. And so it's important that we begin now having serious discussions because, again, elections are around the corner. And there are a lot of tactics being done to really, suppress votes, especially in minority communities and underserved communities. And we need to be just mindful of, again, what's being put in place and what the outcome can possibly be. And, it's up to us to decide whether or not we want to deal with something like that another 4 years or, do something different. In fairness, I can't say that everything Trump does is necessarily bad. He just makes it so easy to point out the bad, and he's such a great target because he's just so it's hard to even find words to describe what he does. But he's definitely an entertainer, and he brought Hollywood with him to the White House. When you are so aggressive in attacking your opponent, that there's more time spent on attacks than on the issues, and you give the people you're not really informing the people. You give the people nothing to really move on and nothing to base an informed decision off of. And we're just in that phase of, or in that reality. I honestly feel like we're dealing with a person who is really not informed enough about policy and what he should be informed about in the first place to actually have a discussion with substance. And so when you're in a situation like that, it leads to stuff like this because you don't want to focus on the issues because it's going to make you have to it's going to really show your hand and show that you're really not fit, if you will. I'm not sure who he surrounded himself with because most of the people who just don't agree with him get, eventually kicked out and fired anyway. So I'm not sure who he surrounded himself with, but I can't say that everything they're doing is bad, right? There has been some, before COVID especially, the economy. I can't say that I disagree with everything because again, everything Republican is not necessarily bad, and everything Democrat is not even necessarily good. but we have to figure out which one best serves the interests of the majority, right? The most of the constituents, and even again those who may not even get out and vote still matter, and those interests on a fundamental level should be what's considered in totality. And so again, we're just at a place now where it's hard. It's hard to see what's unfolding. And I personally don't want to see another 4 years of what we're currently seeing. Just keep in mind that during this debate, your president actually put white supremacy on standby in case he didn't win this election. So again, there's a lot of things being said that could trigger some really unpredictable consequences. At the end of the day, we have to make sure that we are heard, make sure that our vote is counted. And I'm not one to even tell you who to vote for. I am saying that you need to definitely make your voice heard, whatever that may be. So what I want to do is go to a quick commercial break, and then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna bring in a really informed individual that I believe can add clarity to a lot of areas about what we need to be doing to prepare for the 2020 election. And so when I come back, we'll dive into that, and you won't be disappointed. This is going to be an awesome interview, and I can't wait to have this person sitting beside me. So stay tuned. Hello. Again, welcome back to Tntn Politics, your political right to know outlet. And I am here with a very special guest tonight, Cynthia Ginyard.
Yes.
Who is the chairwoman of the Fort Bend Democratic Party.
Fort Bend County Democratic Party, that's indeed.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And so, why don't you let's just jump right in. I mean, again, there's just so much to talk about. And we know that we don't have enough time to really discuss all of the possible angles and issues. But I do want you to first just introduce yourself, let people know what you do, who you are, and even what qualifies you to do what you do.
Okay. I'm Cynthia, chairwoman, Fort Bend County Democratic Party. I was first elected in 2016, and so I am serving my third term. Re-elected for the third time in March of 2020.
Wow.
And I might share with 80% of the vote. So I rock the house, huh?
Oh yeah, rock.
Oh yeah, shut it all the way down. Shut it all the way down. Yes, indeed. But I've been around politics since late 2007, 2008. My interest in politics came with President Obama's campaign. I wanted to see him be elected. I was praying for that to happen, and of course, Mom always taught us, if you're praying for something to happen, what are you going to do to help make that happen? So that's what brought me to politics. And you fast forward, 10 years, and here I am. Okay?
Wow, doing what you do.
Yes. So I was in politics probably 8 years or so before I ever ran for office. My job is to engage the community, Democratic, Fort Bend County and make sure we are winning elections. I am proud to say that we turned blue. This county has not been blue since the mid-70s, and we turned blue November 2018, meaning that we took away the stranglehold that the Republicans have had on the county. We have several judges in office now. Our district attorney is a Democrat. Our county judge is a Democrat. Our district clerk is a Democrat. We have two commissioners that sit on the commissioner's court who are Democrats. So, and that's not all. So we are in a good spot. What we're doing is we're working hard to become a darker shade of blue this November. We carried the presidential candidate in 2016, Hillary Clinton. For the very first time, Democratic presidential candidate was carried in Fort Bend County. I think she carried around 53% or something like that. And we most definitely will be carrying Biden on November 3rd.
All right.
We have to work hard. Yes, you mentioned the obstacles. There are many.
Many.
But you know, there always are. It's nothing new to us. It just gets a little bit more stressful because it's so close to election.
Exactly.
But the story doesn't change. And my way of dealing with it is, let's not get distracted. Let us not take our eye off the prize. You know, you have your vents, your ventings. I just did with a friend of mine before coming here, and but I'm going to still push forward. I'm still doing what we need to do to get out the vote. Democrats win when we get out the vote, okay? Making sure we're on schedule, on tap for November. One of the things I want to stress to the audience, and I'm 62, so I'm sure this audience is a little younger than me.
Still young.
How about that? Yeah. We need you to be engaged and stay engaged. It is not enough to vote during presidential elections. They come every 4 years. It's not enough. I'm glad you're voting, and it's not enough. I look at the current situation with the Supreme Court. You know, if we had the majority in the Senate, we would not have this drama.
I agree.
Now, we know that all congressionals come up every 2 years, but senators have 6-year terms. But still, some are always on the ballot in the even year election.
That's right.
Because they're in thirds and they go in waves. So you have a third of them up for re-election now. Another third will come up in 2022. And another third will come up in 2024. So when you miss that election in between presidential years, you're missing out on voting for the majority. This issue with straight ticket voting, that was taken away because in the Texas House and Senate, we didn't have the majority. They can do whatever they want to do primarily.
And everything that works in their favor.
And everything works in their favor. Why? Because it ought to be that way? No, because what? They have the majority. And they try to stop you from voting, and some of us believe, well, my vote doesn't count. That's exactly what they want you to think. You see?
When if we knew the history of voting and all of the tactics that we use to suppress our vote, we would have to understand that for them to go through such lengths, right, so much trouble to keep us from the polls, that must mean they know something that you probably don't about how important that vote actually is.
There
right?
you go. There you go. Anytime anyone wants to deny you something, then there's something critically important about it.
I agree, definitely.
And that is what's happening here, okay? And I listen to people tell me, my vote doesn't count. One young lady told me, well, Texas is red And so it's no need for me to vote. I said, and it's going to be red if you don't vote.
Nothing changes, nothing changes. Right?
Don't believe the hype.
I love it. I love it.
Don't believe the hype. That's what they want you to think, that your vote doesn't matter. Now, things don't always turn out the way we want them to turn out, but that's why we have to stay on the battlefield. We have to stay fighting. You have to stay engaged. I have to keep doing what I do. I cannot vote only. Let me tell you something. All elections matter. When you are having an issue, do you call the president or do you call the local elected officials? I think you know the answer to that.
That's right.
But when we have these local elections, sometimes they're in May, sometimes they're in November. A lot of times, if it's not a presidential year, we're not going out to vote. But those are the people who are making the decisions for you, and the decisions that hit home and are close to you.
So,
Please,
you making some
Edward.
you making some awesome points.
I could talk all
please,
day.
Please listen. Please, I hope y'all are listening to this awesome personality that is extremely informed about the political process. And it's just so important that you pay attention and that you are equipped with information that can help you make better decisions and just understand really how important and critical it is, especially at this stage in history. But I want to go national and then come back, right?
Okay.
And then I want you to definitely start talking about how do we prepare voters in 2020. I just have to ask you, what do you think about this presidential debate? What is your take? What did you take from it? Was there any possible good, any lesson that we can extract from what happened on that day?
It was disastrous.
Understatement, but yeah.
It was unsettling. It was not a debate. It was sick. And I believe that Biden was the winner by default.
I can agree with that. And I think most of the world.
Because the president just mutilated the whole process. And I was quick to look down on the moderator. You didn't do what you needed to do or whatever, but you know, I had to step back and say, Cynthia, you haven't sat in his shoes.
That's right.
So you really need to be quiet. You haven't sat in his shoes. You've got the former vice president and you've got the current president of the United States, and you're going to be the armchair quarterback and say what you would or would not have done. I don't think so.
I agree.
And I truly believe that the best thing was to put a button in place so that he can silence the person until the other person's 2 minutes is over. And the Presidential Debate Commission did not say specifically what they would do, but they said they would make changes for the next one. That may segue into something else. Now
And I want to show a clip actually,
Okay.
but I'll probably do that after we come back from the commercial break. But I want to show a clip of, again, just this late breaking news about.
I know it's hard.
Yeah, it's
It's-
almost unbelievable what it is. And so when you just look at how these last 4 years have went, and just the things that have occurred, it's just almost impossible.
But
to
see, what
even-
we saw was a narcissistic rage. That's what that is. So it's it's a little tough when it's a 70-plus-year-old who's actually having a 2-year-old temper tantrum. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is the clip on? Okay.
So
New TV girl here.
yeah. So real quick, we're gonna show this clip, so we can segue into with some of the stuff that we already want to talk about, but this will kind of set the stage for it. So we're gonna go to the clip right quick, and then we'll come back and we'll dialogue a little more before we go to break.
Okay.
And joining us live on the phone now is CBS News White House correspondent Weijia Jiang. She joins us from Washington, D.C. And Weijia, what are you hearing from your sources?
Well, Pat, this is extraordinary news, and I think that it is going to really shake the West Wing. And because it is still so new, and because the president just revealed this information, we are still reporting this out. We're still trying to get a sense of the feeling from inside the building. But certainly, for months now, I can tell you that White House aides and senior administration officials who we have talked with have expressed surprise, frankly, that more people within the White House have not contracted COVID-19. And that is because, as the president has made public, of the views of the protocols that should be taken, and the sometimes rejection of medical advice from scientific experts, including those in the administration. For example, we know the president, has not embraced the full use of masks. And that is something that his own health experts have said time and time again could protect people better than anything, perhaps even better than a vaccine. And so, when you're talking about what's happening inside the White House, I can tell you that there was a blip in time where masks were mandated for people in the West Wing, for people who work in the building, and they were mandated unless, that staffer was sitting at their desk, and then otherwise you were supposed to wear a mask, and that quickly faded away. And the reason that's important is because, we're starting to make a preliminary list of all the people who have been exposed to President Trump and the First Lady over the course of the past few days, and the list is long, and it is filled with some of the most important people in the Trump administration. And so you start expanding out that list. And the real question here, Pat, is who else was exposed to the virus? So I think that's why, especially as people wake up to this news and they're trying to grapple with it, there will be a lot of concern about just how many people may be sick inside the building.
So, I can't even. This is another thing that I guess, part of this conversation where I have to be careful what I say. Because I don't know whether to be happy or to be just cautiously optimistic or even skeptical. I honestly didn't want to believe that the news when I heard it, right when it broke. Because I was just like, oh, karma is, oh my God.
Yes, it is.
But then I was like, wait a minute. This is really convenient. Like, right when you did the most disastrous debate in the history of debates, period, not just presidential, but debates, period.
Yes.
You suddenly, and the First Lady, come down with COVID, right? Mm-hmm. And that will work because now you don't have to worry about those next two debates. Because you can only go down from here, right? You know that every time from this point forward you get in front of that microphone, you are going to lose more traction and more voters. Sure. Even probably more your base, let alone anybody else. So it just seemed too neat, right? Too nicely placed, right? So I was like, no, this is fake news. He also was about fake news, right? Yeah. I'm like, this is some real fake news. This man does not have COVID. Mm-hmm. But you were saying during the break that that you also, I guess, were skeptical about
yes,
that
I
report.
was. It has been I don't know, encouraging. That may not be the right word in this setting or not, but I can't think of a better word to use right now. That it actually is because I understand one of the senators who was working in the circles with the Supreme Court nominee, he is now tested positive, and the chairwoman of the RNC has now tested positive. So there are others. And I just assumed that, you know, if he did with the people who's around him, then somebody else will have contracted it as well. And it seems so. So, you know, when all is said and done, I think that it was so disastrous to those who were hanging on by a thread. I can only visualize in my mind that those senators, Republican senators and Congress persons, were probably at their homes watching like we were, or at their offices, and I bet they had crawled under the desk. Because on a human nature, I think they're decent people. I really do. They love this country just like we do. But they are all entwined in that political juggernaut, conundrum. And they do what they do to stay in power. I think that he was so disastrous. Of course, the Commission on Presidential Debates had to plan to make changes. And as you say, Edward, where was he going from there? Where was he going from there? And I believe that this is on the way to his way out. I did not win because I got sick and I could not campaign. I think they call it saving face. Young people,
that's an interesting topic.
America, the Democrats are going to win this election. Okay? We just have to execute between now and November 3rd. You may not stay at home. You must vote. You must early vote. You will not wait until the last day when the lines are too long and then you don't want to. We have 3 weeks. Normally we have 2 weeks. But we have 3 weeks starting Tuesday, October 13th. Yes, your vote matters. Don't let anybody tell you. You know, we look at all the injustices, and you young people got to see the George Floyd situation. There's nothing funny about it. But it was the opportunity for younger generations to see straight up what has gone on. They felt like, well, that's a thing of the past. It's just history. That happened in the 1950s.
Right, 50s and 60s.
That was before my mama was born.
Right.
2020, here it is right here in your face on this camera. Okay, and so that was that moment.
Okay, exactly.
That moment. So, yes, what about our judges? And President Trump, I can't tell you the amount, over 100 federal judges he's appointed during his term. And guess what? These are life positions.
Lifetime seats, that's right.
Lifetime seats. It matters that we have our Democratic leaders in office. They're not perfect. The first thing I hear is, well, I don't agree with this person on that, and you don't agree with your spouse or your significant other on everything. So don't hand me that baggage. I don't want to hear it.
You hearing it? So we're gonna go take a quick commercial break, and as you can see, this is a firecracker right here, and I want her to give it all to you. So we'll be right back after these quick commercial breaks. Stay tuned.
You always be fresh.
For waking up, hit the kitchen, whip it up. Hit the docks with broken blocks and push them bitches till they bust. I'm a soldier, niggas know me. If we beef, you don't get touched. Bitch keep talking way too much. I told her get out, ride the bus. Big dog around these pups. She want that raw, then I can't fuck. I'm on that boat too old. She on that 1942 with Dutch. I don't do no dinner dates. I do fuck with Mary Jane. I'm high as Spider-Man and saucing on them haters every day. Tell my homie grab that weed. Roll up on that man case. Shake the world with all these raps. I threw my city on my back. Back in 02 I was strapped. You don't believe me? Took my mama shit to school. All my niggas knew I'm scheming on the low. Tryna come up on some pros. I had to cool it on these hoes. Niggas pillow talk to bitches. Boy, stop spooning with these hoes. Bitches got them in they feelings. Boy, stop smooching with these hoes. Never fell out over no bitches. Said I'm cool with all my bros. We 10 toes and I'm a ride. But only real know how that go. Them niggas shot me, I ain't tripping. We gon' mash out on the low. Hit the lights, then bend that corner. Get the bustin' off these foes. More percussion, bass be bumping. Bullets flying through that hoe. I'm drunk and hanging out the window like the Joker. I'm in Houston, making plays like my last name Foster. I'm a motherfucking menace. Bro said chillin', so I cool. Switch the topic. Want that money and that bitch that's from the tropic. Tryna set some plays in Canada. I heard them niggas got it. I just mag under my coat. I ain't stressing over no hoe. Big Bang Road is all that we want.
Welcome again back to Tntn Politics, your political right to know outlet. And Miss Cynthia is definitely making sure that you know, right? So let's continue the discussion. And I want to kind of piggyback off what you said earlier about just about the whole COVID thing, and then I want you to just talk about some of the stuff again that we did. I mean, just this great discussions that we're having off camera. The people need to hear that. But I did want to say that it's sad. It's a sad day when COVID has already claimed the lives of over 200,000, American citizens, and we had a president that was so incompetent and reckless in how he handled the whole ordeal, and
did not believe.
Right. And now for it to come full circle.
And now he's stricken.
Right. And
It's
so,
yeah. See, you have to know there is something, folks, that's bigger than us. We could navigate that.
And you couldn't script that.
We could not script it. We could not orchestrate it. That happened last night before I went to bed because I worked late, when it's nice and quiet, I'm on the computer, and I was like, what? I'm not believing this.
Fake news. Karma can't be that good.
Karma can't, yeah.
Right,
but you know what? Karma is that good. And remember that too, okay?
So let's and I've seen so many just, I would call it cruel, but I just feel like it's justice, right? Just these little memes and these comments people making about, him and the hydroxychloroquine thing, and they wonder if he's drinking bleach now. Basically all of the crazy, ridiculous things that he suggested.
He's crazy.
And then again, you had all these rallies, all these people unmasked. I'm wondering how they're feeling right now. Again, your ardent supporters, when you're telling them that this is not a thing, it's gonna just magically disappear, right? It's wrong. And then you expose some of the most important people in the nation because of your foolishness, right? How many people have been in your presence since you've been contagious?
Yes, foolishness.
Top cabinet members and other dignitaries and diplomats and maybe even people from other countries.
Sure. And
now they have to worry about whether or not they have to live with this. And so anyway.
Yeah.
It's gonna be interesting to see how these next few weeks play out. I did want to come back locally and just talk really quickly about our governor. And just the whole reality of voter suppression and what do you think? I guess how do you feel about that one, and then how do we prepare to combat that, right? So when you're talking about preparing for the 2020 election, how do we prepare the people for what we're about to face going to these polls? We see that they are aggressively putting things in place.
Stumbling blocks in the way.
Right.
Um,
And a specific thing that I want to mention about Governor Abbott was the whole thing he's doing with the vote by mail thing, and restricting the polling the locations that they can actually
from
Right.
from several to one.
Yeah.
Yes, came down with that ruling. It's bad enough for our county, which is Fort Bend County, and we're just under 1 million people. But think about Harris County, one location. He said 1 drop location per county.
That is crazy.
It's crazy. This is what I've said all along for weeks now. You cannot control what someone in Washington or Austin does. But what we can control is what we do. If you are a person who's voting by mail for whatever reason, because of a disability or because you're a 65 pluser, get your application off yesterday. If you are voting by mail and you get your ballot, which is probably going to be in the next couple of days, don't hold on to it. Do it and send it off like yesterday. If you are voting in person, voting starts Tuesday, October 13th. Now maybe you can't go that day. But folks, you've got about 15 days, a little better than that, to early vote. I avoid lunch times and the time that people stop after work because it's going to be crowded then. You have a little over 15 days with a whole lot of flexibility. Go and early vote. Do not wait until election day. Well, Miss Cynthia, why did you say that? It is more convenient for you. You will avoid long lines. You have more flexibility, and you never know what's going to happen on election day. That's one day compared to 15, 16, 17 days. Sometimes, remember, this is November. The weather could be treacherous. It is one of those days when you really don't want to get out. Okay? Take advantage of early voting. Please do. Whatever you do, by mail or you're voting in person, do it and do it quickly. What that does, ladies and gentlemen, is it lessens and diminishes the window for error. For error. Trump, Abbott, all the rest of these folks, we can't stop them from doing what they're doing. But we can control what we do. That means go down there, get voted, get your ballot in so it's counted. And for those people who have issues in the process, if you have a problem, we can troubleshoot it and get it fixed and get you squared away. There is nothing that we can do for you at 6:30 on November 3rd. And that's when the problems will often come, Edward. And I said I'm older, so a lot of things I don't care about anymore. So I'll say to you, look, where have you been? It's 6:30 on the last day.
Right.
What's up?
Oh yeah. Look. All we can do is give you information and stress and emphasize the importance.
Yeah.
It's up to you what you do with it. We're praying and hoping that you decide to be more active and a lot more aggressive, and just understand how urgent, how critical it is that you get out and vote.
Your life depends on it.
Life depends on it.
Yes, it does.
So you also telling me about just cause I think for some time, especially for my generation, I know is younger than me, they sometimes just need things explained in a way that personalizes it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if we can't feel it, we just don't think it's important, and that doesn't concern me, whatever. But you were talking about how young people like hanging out at the parks, right? Those things that we enjoy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And those things are very political in nature, right?
That's the only way they exist. Those parks and amenities that are available that you enjoy, they didn't get there by osmosis. Some elected official locally worked on that, voted for your community to have that. If there is something wrong with what you have and you say, well, the trash is not being picked up, or the equipment is broken, or, maybe there is no equipment and we need some, you don't call the President of the United States for those kinds of things.
Right. Potholes.
Or you said the street that runs through there is got, potholes in it from the rain and whatnot. You're not calling the President of the United States. So don't tell me elected officials don't impact your life and the things that you enjoy. Yes, they do. Now, at this point, the only thing I'm probably worried about is hospital. But but guess what? They have something to do with that. Elected officials work together across county, state, city, government, federal lines to get all of those things done. So yes, they do impact your life. And our county party, you all who are new or newer to politics, we exist 12 months a year. We are right there at on 59 at Sugar Creek. 12 months a year, we have a permanent headquarters. We'll be celebrating our 3rd anniversary November 1st. We can't do it 6 months or 6 weeks before an election anymore. When I came in office, I realized that we had to have continuum and continuity. You see what I'm saying? You can't stop and start and stop and start. No, we gotta get in here and we gotta stick and stay. And that's what I want you to do.
Because it's definitely
Come join us.
It's definitely easier to maintain something than to
Yes,
again,
it's
pick
just
up and
hard.
keep starting over.
Yes.
Again.
Yes. Yes, that's right. That's
So I
right.
want to ask you this. I do know because I actually.
Wow.
Okay.
Let's see, today is October 2nd?
But my birthday is actually the 4th.
Happy birthday, Daddy!
Oh, God. Look at that. Is this cool or what? Yeah.
All right.
How are you, madam?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
Oh, it is so good to see you.
Daddy!
Yeah.
And I got some birthday surprises at home and I already told you that.
Oh, it's going to be a surprise, really.
So can I finish my show?
Happy birthday, Daddy!
Happy birthday, man.
What do you mean? It's not my birthday. Why did you say happy
No, I
birthday?
say thank you. Talk to you in a minute. Well,
Really?
interesting.
Happy birthday.
So they know I don't like surprises.
Ah.
And then to be live on all social media and Roku, they want to do this. But
I enjoy it. I enjoy being a part of it. Yeah, how about that?
I
That's
appreciate
great. That's
so let's wrap this up. And wrapping it up,
great.
I want to ask you this though, because Harris County, they've had a lot of challenges, but they've been aggressive also in combating it, right? And so they have a lot of. I actually had Mr. Scott Lamond on the show, who is the assistant county attorney for Harris
Okay.
County.
Okay.
And he was just talking about, again, the history of voter suppression, the litigation they have that's actually, trying to combat some of the stuff that Governor Abbott and other people are doing
Yeah.
when it comes to specifically to the mail-in ballot situation. Is there any kind of similar litigation or situations in Fort Bend? Or is that not really even an issue with the Fort Bend County community?
Governor Abbott's proclamation, it applied to everybody up and down the board.
Right.
We have
right.
254 counties in Texas, and it applied to all of them.
Right. So yeah.
So we're all suffering. What we know is that we will try to, many entities will provide rides for our seniors to drop off
Beautiful.
their ballots if they don't want to mail them. You
Right.
can mail them, and I can say that I've not experienced a problem with the mail on our end. I was there yesterday and Wednesday, mailed a package to Kendleton, and it got there yesterday. I was like, oh, okay. So I've not experienced, and then the post office has sent out some communique saying, y'all, we're processing like we always have, and that was good. So you can mail your ballot, but you can also take it in, but you must take it in Fort Bend to the elections office, which is the Rosenberg Annex in Rosenberg. That's 4520 Reading Road, just like reading a book. 4520 Reading Road in Rosenberg. It's one of the county annexes, okay? And that's where our elections office is. It always has been. And you must take it and you must show a picture ID. Therefore, you can't take your spouse's or your significant other.
Right.
You gotta take your own.
Okay.
Spouse has to go with you or take their own, okay? That's the security part of it.
Right.
And you can do that as soon as you get your ballot and you get it done. Then take it in or mail it in.
Okay.
Either one. When it is mailed to that very office as well. Okay. So I think someone said, Harris is kind of using one of their major facilities, maybe the stadium, I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's what they was trying to say.
Okay, because this thing, a few million people, that is mammoth for them.
Yes.
I think that we'll be able to manage
Right.
what we have. I think we'll be able to manage it. But that's very, very different for them. And once again, young people,
Beautiful.
they don't wear sheets anymore. They wear suits and ties
And robes.
and robes.
And sometimes badges. All of that. Yeah.
And sometimes
Understand that the micro is just a reflection of the macro. If there's racism in the world on a macro scale, where do they come from? They come from those very same communities. So don't think that racism is not institutionalized and is not in the very places that really, really impact you. And again, it's just a different way that they're lynching and enslaving now, right? So
that's right.
Be mindful.
That's right.
Be
It is.
mindful.
And you have to keep the fight. You have to keep the fight. You have to keep the fight. You have to be vigilant. No, you can't save everything and everybody, but you can save one thing and maybe one person or one situation. Do your part. I implore you to do your part. Get engaged, stay engaged. Don't wait around for somebody to ask you or President Clinton said, I believe it was him, service is the rent we pay for living in America. Service.
So this has been beautiful. I don't want this to end. Honestly, you are such a breath of fresh air.
Well, thank you.
Your energy, your just everything. I do want you to close by actually telling the people, because you said this is 12 months out the year, not just during election time, to get involved, right?
Okay.
And more engaged in the Democratic Party, to do more of what you do. Maybe even want to run for office.
Yes.
How do they get in touch with you? How do they get involved? Right.
Okay,
So,
I'm going to give you website. I'm going to give you email. I'm going to give you a phone number. so that you can get engaged. Now, our website is easy because it's fbdemocrats.com. What does FB stand for? Fort Bend, yes. So FB Democrats with an S.com. www.fbdemocrats.com. Go to that website. There you may join up, okay? You may submit your name, and I get that information, and then we put you on our blast. You will want to be on our email blast so you know what's going on in this county. If you want to call me, please, or text me, please do so. 832-444-4073. That is my personal cell.
Wow.
Because I am a hands-on person, and I don't have an answering machine on, because when I see a red number, I just got to call you back anyway. So why should I do two things? Listen to a message and call you back. I just said, okay, that person called, let me call you back. So that's what I do. So don't get discouraged because you don't have an answering machine. But my number, again, is 832-444-4073. You call or text. And my email is my last name, Ginyard, Ginyard. That's like Jen Yard, okay? At sbcglobal.net. S Sam B Boy C Cat.
She making sure that
GLOBAL.net. Ginyard at sbcglobal.net is how you reach me by email.
you have no way of saying you didn't understand that.
And of course, we're on Facebook, and just remember, we are Fort Bend County Democratic Party. Look us up on Facebook and Twitter. We're there as well.
Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence, and just for being so full of information and so full of life.
Well, I'm glad I could be of help.
Yeah, and I'd like to thank my partners and production crew for this interesting birthday.
I know.
Yeah, shout out. I don't even know. Yeah, I'm still trying to process all of this, but thank you.
An exhilarating day.
An interesting day. But again, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate you, and I definitely want to have you back, especially maybe right before and definitely after the election, just so we can talk about. Yeah, exactly.
What happened?
Exactly.
Because it's going to be a good thing.
Oh, I can't.
And you'll have to hold me down and say, "Calm down, Cynthia. Calm down."
That was our show. Thank you for tuning in. I'm your host again, OJ Davis. Come back again, same time, every Friday, 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Thank you again. Hope you got what you need to get out and do what you need to do.